Push, pull, Percy. Percy enjoyed working in the yard. Edward had taught him well, and he kept the trucks and coaches in order. His cheerful nature was a welcome change from the yard's bad atmosphere. As Percy was shunting, he saw Thomas arrive with Annie and Clarabel. He didn't take much notice, but when the guard's whistle blew, he was surprised to see Thomas backing the train down the branch line. Now, Thomas is a unique engine. Thanks to special rods and connectors, he can be driven from Clarabel's cab. This means he could stay at one end of his train for both journeys. He left the station, chuckling to himself. When the big engines were shut up in the shed, the fat controller asked Percy to look after the branch line. He was excited to get out of the yard and show Thomas a thing or two. Percy liked branch line work, but soon found his hopes were dashed. His driver always ran him round to the back of the train. He tried starting before he could be uncoupled. He tried locking his brakes. He tried everything, but his driver always won in the end. One morning, Percy brought the first train to the big station. He was about to run round for the return journey when the station master walked up. As the driver strode to the cab, Percy chuckled. The fireman was anxious. The driver was having a hard time seeing. The guard kept watching Clarabel, but Percy bumped about so much that he spilled tea on his uniform. He fumed and went searching for a rag. Then, when trouble appeared, a lorry had stalled on the level crossing. Bertie sat waiting, annoyed by the delay. The driver grunted as he continued working on the lorry's engine. Bertie rolled his eyes. Then he glanced down the line. A train fast approaching. Clarabel was frantic. The guard, turning his attention back to the rails, scrambled to the lever. He leaned out the window and blew his whistle furiously. Percy's brakes came on at once. He put all his effort into stopping and shut his eyes in horror. When Percy opened his eyes, he'd finally halted. Clarabel's buffers were mere inches from the crossing gates. Percy was ashamed. The driver explained about Thomas's controls. Percy felt very foolish. When the lorry was cleared of the crossing, he backed the train carefully to the first station. As he ran round the coaches, he thought of how silly he'd been. Percy felt much better after hearing this, and laughed all the way to the top station as Clarabel recounted Thomas's misfortunes. Percy had no further incident, and returned to shunting when the big engines were allowed out. He was very cheeky whenever Thomas approached the platform. Annie and Clarabel giggled as Thomas turned bright red. He never mentioned a special engine again.